Ladies and gentlemen, we have some pretty big news in the NBA sports media landscape. One Skip Bayless has left FS1. Skip Bayless has left FS1. It is the end of an era. This is per the New York Post last night. Apparently, his final show will be late this summer. This is coming a year after Shannon Sharpe just left the show as well last year. And that was big news. And I will say this, shocking but not surprised. I don't know if those two things can coexist. But it's one of those things where, like, once the news drops, it's like, oh wow, it actually happened. But did we all see this coming? I feel like we did. Per this article, undisputed ratings numbers were also heard on the margins as Craig Carton's lead-in show has not yet reached the metrics that First Things First had in the early mornings before it got moved to mid-afternoon following the Herd with Colin Cowherd. There's so many things to talk about when it comes to the situation. And I guess it has to start with the ratings of Undisputed falling off, right? This was last year, by the way. This was September of last year. I believe Shannon Sharpe already left at this point. The premiere of the new and improved Undisputed Live drew 131,000 viewers on Monday to 448,000 for ESPN's top-rated First Take, according to sources. The gap widened on Tuesday, with Undisputed Live averaging 120,000 views to 474,000 on First Take. On Wednesday, Undisputed plunged to 78,000 viewers, 423,000 for First Take. Now, mind you, again, this was in September, and there was still this allure of how is Undisputed going to look like after Shannon Sharpe leaves. It's the first couple of shows. People are going to tune in just to see what the drama's about. Are they going to address these things? All of that. First episode tax, essentially. But if this was what the numbers were looking like last year, I ain't going to lie. They haven't done anything to change these numbers at all. They haven't done jack shit to improve, make moments. I want to say things to improve, because they did add in Paul Pierce, they add in Keyshawn Johnson, and they've had a couple funny moments. But in terms of Skip Bayless, it's just, my God, have the mighty have fallen. My God, have the mighty have fallen. When I used to think of sports media when I was growing up, Stephen A. Smith and Skip Bayless used to be at the top of that list, and damn near like in their own tier. I'm gonna keep it a whole stack, like damn near in their whole in their own tier, excuse me. And here we are sitting in 2024, and shit's coming to the light. Not on some like Skip Bayless is a bad person shit, but I think as a entertainer, as a sports media guy, Skip Bayless has just fumbled in so many different areas, so many different avenues. And I think it starts off with, while, it's fun to have confidence in yourself, I think throughout this whole process of even leaving First Take and going to Undisputed and treating Shannon Sharpe the way that he did, I think he overvalued himself. I think he overvalued himself and how much he was actually the draw of his own show, or quote unquote his own show. Because I remember what Undisputed's numbers looked like before Shannon Sharpe left. And I'm talking about, like, they were crazy. Every time I would go on their YouTube channel, they had a 16 to 17 minute clip going for 1 to 1.5 million views, bro. And I'm just thinking of that, like, as a YouTuber, bro, imagine every single day uploading a 17-minute video getting 1 million views, bro. Like, that's insane. But those were the numbers Undisputed was pulling. And I'm going to keep it a stack. When people tuned into Undisputed, it was mostly because of Shannon Sharpe by the end of it. Now, during the beginning, was that the case? I personally don't think so. Obviously, Shannon Sharpe was the guy who had more to prove compared to Skip Bayless. But by the end of it, Shannon Sharpe was the star of the show. And for Skip Bayless to treat Shannon Sharpe the way that he did, for Skip Bayless to disrespect Shannon Sharpe the way that he did on national TV, and then essentially pull a Shaq and Kobe. Well, I don't think that's a good analogy, but essentially run him out the building. Skip Bayless, you made your bed, you gotta go lay in it. I'm sorry, at the end of the day. But the downfall of Skip Bayless goes beyond just managing relationships. Goes beyond how he managed his relationship with Shannon Sharpe, with Stephen A., with FS1, with ESPN. I truly think as an entertainer, Skip Bayless has regressed like a lot. Skip Bayless's appeal back in the day used to be the guy that said crazy shit that you just honestly couldn't believe. When you look at a guy who's made a career off of dick riding, you think of Skip Bayless. And as LeBron's career is about to retire, I just don't think Skip Bayless has made the proper adjustments, the proper pivots throughout his entertainment career in terms of who Skip Bayless is to really adjust himself into this next era. And I don't know if it's a matter of he's had attempts and just failed, or people just don't care because, yo, we're done with the gimmick, old man, or just we're done with you, old man. Like, we've already seen you for 10 or 15 years. It's time to move the fuck on from you. Or it's a combination of all of these things. But when I look at Skip Bayless, I'm looking at a guy who, honestly, in the last 2 years, hasn't really made any sports moment outside of calling out Shannon Sharpe to really put attention on him as a brand and want to make people tune in. And not even in terms of comparing him to Stephen A. Smith. I'm talking about in terms of comparing him to the guys in his network. I've seen so many Colin Cowherd clips that actually pissed me off, that made me tune into the herd over the last 2 years. You know what I'm saying? First things first with Nick Wright has apparently been killing it. And again, Nick Wright is a guy that's done a really good job of making people mad and making people tune in. So even in the concept of, essentially, and I don't want to call it clip farming, but essentially in the concept of making controversial takes to make it tune in, even on that front, like, Skip Bayless just hasn't really done a good job of that. And that's a really big problem with Skip Bayless's brand over the last decade, is the fact that he built his brand off of shock value. He built his brand off of saying stupid shit that you couldn't even believe. And now in 2024, when you're not providing that, when you're, if anything, trying to be more objective, because I was talking to Omar last night, and apparently he's been watching Undisputed a decent amount lately, and like the conversations have been good. That's not why people ever tuned into you. And in 2024, when you've established that brand for a decade plus, that's not going to change this year for me. And I don't even know if this is the fault of Skip Bayless directly or his management team, but in terms of a guy trying to take advantage and adjust and adapt to this new era of sports media, he has just done a terrible job. And I think he has a team behind him, but they have just done a terrible, terrible job of doing just that. Especially, again, compared to his contemporaries within his network. I'm looking at the Skip Bayless show, which is his attempt of being independent, having his own show outside of Undisputed. And I'm, as a YouTuber, I'm looking at these titles and thumbnails, and they are just lackluster. They are ass. They are doo-doo. They are doo-doo. And in terms of the full show, again, the production quality is decent. You know what I'm saying? There's clearly work behind it. But I'm sorry, not a lot of people, especially the younger generation who does consume a decent amount of YouTube, is thinking in their heads, what does Skip Bayless have to say? What does Skip Bayless has to say? And he just, look at these, bro. You have clips struggling to get 1,000 views after like 4 days. I'm not even talking about like within the first 2 hours. I'm talking about after 4 days. Right, you have 47K here, cool, right? But for a guy like Skip Bayless, and who Skip Bayless is supposed to be, like, look at these, bro. Look at these. Barely cracking 1,000. These clips should be averaging, I ain't gonna lie. If Skip Bayless is who Skip Bayless is supposed to be, at the very least 50,000. I'm going to keep it a whole stack. If his team is doing the things that they're supposed to do, if Skip Bayless is providing the entertainment that he's supposed to do, these clips should be cracking 45, 50,000 at the very least. I ain't going to lie. And even if we look at the shorts, again, lackluster. None of these are cracking 20,000. Some of these are having trouble cracking 3K. Like, it's just bad over there. And I'm also looking at the topics he's talking about, and it's just such a marker of Skip Bayless's brand in 2024 and the things that he's still grasping onto and the things he's unable to adapt to, bro. Like, look at this. LeBron, Cowboys, LeBron, Bronny, okay, Dallas, which, I don't know, it's still a Dallas team, all right. Talks about OKC, which this one actually did do good. Right? Free agency special, that did decent. Skip Bayless shares the biggest purchase he's ever made. Okay, Michael Jordan, Dallas, Dallas, you know what I'm saying? Lakers, right? Like, it's just a lot of Dallas. Like, that, Draymond, okay, we're talking to Draymond a decent amount here. Dallas again, Dallas, Bronny, LeBron, like, bro, LeBron again, Dallas. Like, where is the diversity? Where is the diversity in the conversations that you're having? He has just regressed. And again, I don't know if this is a Skip Bayless problem. I don't know if this is his team failed him problem. But bro, this is horrible. So the question now is, where does Skip Bayless go from here? And I'm not going to lie, he has a couple of options if he still wants to continue doing the sports media thing. I think number one, he has to put his pride aside, if it is even there, or if it even mattered in the first place, and call up ESPN. Call up First Take, okay? I don't think Shannon Sharpe is a regular on that platform anymore, but if there is one like old media thing he can do that'll actually make people tune in, it is bringing the old band back together with Skip Bayless and Stephen A. And, you know, if there's one thing that does sell in 2024, it is nostalgia. If that fails, that would be crazy. But I would like to see that, and I would think that that's something that would revive Skip Bayless's career in terms of the sports media zeitgeist. Now, will Skip Bayless have to adjust his role compared to what it was prior? Because for those who don't know, First Take was founded by Skip Bayless, I believe, right? But obviously in 2024, that is known as Stephen A. Smith Show. So that whole dynamic of you coming on a Stephen A. show, you know, that adjustment, that gotta be there. He definitely has to do that. His second option is to go independent. Even Shannon Sharpe last year, when he left FS1 and when he left Undisputed, he went straight to being independent. I understand he was on ESPN for a couple episodes, but for the most part, he's only been there a couple times. But his main thing has been Nightcap. His main thing has been Club Shay Shay, and those shows have been doing tremendously well. You can even look at a guy like JJ Redick and understand it's a different realm and he got a different job. But essentially, this idea of taking the independent sports media route, trying to get your value up, trying to get your stock up, and then you can potentially get bought out, honestly, by a ESPN again or by a FS1 on some Pat McAfee shit. Is that the route he wants to go in? My only thing with that route is the Skip Bayless show is not the route to do that. I am sorry. I don't think when Skip Bayless does go independent and this is how he goes about it, that it'll be a successful pivot. You know, he'll have a decent amount of first couple of episodes, but after that allure of the first couple of episodes is gone and we're just regularly tuning into the Skip Bayless show, I would not be surprised if those numbers are doo-doo. I would not. Because of the fact that this format right here and how he just goes about making content is just way too repetitive. It's too bland. The production value is too low. And again, how they're going about rollout is just ass. Now, I do think if he goes an independent route and he really wants to shake shit up and make some noise and make a moment, there's two other things he can do within the realm of going independent. Number one is pulling an everyday struggle. And what I mean by that is I feel like in the NBA space, the thing that's missing in the NBA and even sports media space is an independent podcast where a media member and a prominent player team up and they are not afraid to push each other back. They are not afraid to debate each other. And I feel like if Skip Bayless teams up with, I don't necessarily know if it has to be Gilbert Arenas, but someone in that LeBron era, one of these recently retired players that are good on the mic, and they do an everyday struggle type of show. If you know, with Joe Budden and the Academics, and they go on consistently and, you know, create these moments, I think that's a lane that he can go into. But I feel like Skip Bayless, with the way that he's been moving, kind of has a problem with sharing the limelight with people. You know what I'm saying? He kind of has a problem with sharing a show with someone and then the other person getting more pull than him. You know what I'm saying? So in this case, if that's going to be the case again, I don't know if that's the route Skip Bayless should go. The other route he can go in, and I understand this is going to be nasty as fuck, but I do think, it does have the potential to revive his career. Is just get real. And this would just show a different level of desperation, is essentially be a right-wing sports media analyst, like on some Jason Whitlock shit, bro. Like Skip Bayless going crazy in that route that would create a lot of moments. And I don't know, bro. I don't know. I feel like that may have a potential to revive Skip Bayless's career, but maybe I just don't know him. I don't even think Skip Bayless wants to do that. And outside of that, hey man, Skip, I don't know. I don't want to pocket watch or anything, man. But listen, Skip, how old is Skip Bayless? Skip Bayless is 72 years old, bro. Skip Bayless, you have had a 30-year career in sports media. Hey, Skip, if it's time, it's time, bro. If it's time to retire, it's time to retire. When is the age for retirement? What is it, 67? Skip, you are 66? 66, 67. Skip, you are in retirement age. And if it's time to hang it up, it's time to hang it up, bro. If it's time to hang it up, it's time to hang it up. I think Skip Bayless, even though we give him a lot of shit, like his peak was at the peak of sports media. You know what I'm saying? His legacy in sports media, while controversial, it is one of the guys that paved the way for the future era of sports media. You know what I'm saying? He has made a long-lasting impact with the things that he did on First Take, for better or for worse. And I think at this point, unless he is really desperate for money, Skip Bayless, it is time to retire. It is time to focus on Ernestine. After you said you would choose your career over her, hey, gang, your career is over. I think it's time to start being a family man. Don't be sad that it's over. Be happy that it ever happened. But let me know what y'all think about this whole situation. But with that being said, I'm out, man. Peace.